All right, 1.2, points, lines, and planes. All right, so our first problems, they give us a picture. So this is for problems 9 through 16. They've given us two lines that are intersecting, and the points are listed here on them. This line is line L, this is line M. And then essentially the problems are going to ask you a true or false statement, and all you need to say is if it's true or false.
Is that an L? Like a little...
Yes. Yeah, I usually do cursive L's because the regular L looks like a 1, and it gets really confusing in math, I feel like, so. And I like cursive L's. I think they're fun to write, so I don't know. All right, so number 10. A, B, and C are collinear. So we're looking at, are the points A, B, and C on the same line? No, they are not. So you got one here, and one here. So they are not collinear, so this would be false. A, B, and C are coplanar. Make sure I spell that right. Are A, B, and C on the same plane? Yes. Yep, because they're not showing that anything's any different. So we're assuming if they're just giving us two lines that that's one plane unless they tell us otherwise. So these would be coplanar. So this is true. All right, 14. D, E, and B are coplanar. Nope, collinear. I lied. Collinear. Are those all on the same line? Yep, so this one would be true. Yeah. So normally they don't actually put a point at the intersection, but yes, technically there is a point right there as well. A lot of times they'll just write the letter like in one of the little gaps of the thing. I don't know why they don't put a point there, but for some reason they don't. All right. Because all of the even ones are something like this, and we need to see one that's a little bit different. 15. Point D lies on line M. So this is why it's important to notice what the line names are. So is point D on line M? No, so this would be false. All right, the next chunk of problems have another picture that go with them. So this is for 17 through 24. It's kind of like total chaos. We have two lines that go like this that appear to be parallel, but they don't specify. We have two lines going like this. And then two lines that are more or less going up and down. So then I'm going to draw these in a different color just so we can see them. But basically these are all going to be at intersection points. So up here, this one is point G. This one well, my picture's not exactly right. This line should actually be through that intersection point right there. I'm gonna move this one just a little bit. Obviously, when you're doing your homework, you don't necessarily need to copy the picture out. I'm just doing this so we can see it as we're working through them. This is H right here. This is F. This is J. Well, this line's not where it needs to be either. Good enough. So then, hold on. This is J. This is L, N, and M. So I'm going to try to, they don't mark where these points are, but their picture's way better than mine is, so I'm just going to try to put the dots so that we can see where they are. So these ones are going to ask us to name a point that is collinear with the given point. So they're going to give you basically 2 letters that represent a point, and we need to find the third one that is collinear with it. So 18, G, and K. So I need another point that's on the line with G and K. So following this one, it would be N. So N would be our point that is collinear with that. 20, M, and J. What point would be collinear with M and J? Yep, F. 24, J and F. What point would be collinear on the same line with those 2 things? Yep, M. Any questions on those ones? All right, the next one, it gives us another little diagram. For each problem has its own little diagram, and it says to name 3 points in the diagram that are not collinear. So last one we were looking for collinear, this one we are not. So this one we basically have 2 rays that are going and then a line cutting through that ray. So we need to name 3 points that are not on the same line. So, yes. So you need to pick 3 that are not all on the same line. So basically you just can't pick 3 letters that are all directly off of this. As long as you include T and 2 other letters, you're good. So there's obviously a variety of answers that we could use here. One of them would be STU. One of them would be RTV. So there's lots of options that you could come up with, but as long as you choose at least one letter that's not on that line, you're good. So basically, as long as you include T, you're good. All right. The next ones are giving us a picture that looks like kind of like a brick if you were to like draw one. So 28 through 35 is going to have a picture. Going to see how good this comes out.
Oh, your line's so straight.
Because I have a magic tablet. So then remember we use dotted lines to look at basically stuff that we can't see to give us the 3D look. So there is essentially my brick. And then each of the corners are labeled as a letter. So this is H, A, B, E, C, D, F, and G. So we're looking for points that are coplanar, so on the same plane as the letters that are given to us. So 28 is A, B, and C. So what other letter is on the same surface as A, B, and C? D. 30. G, A, and D. Yep, so that would be this front piece of the brick here. That would be H. A, B, and H. Yep. E, because we would be on this side over here. We've got A, B, H, and then E would be our other one. And then one that's going to require us to think a little bit more, 34, is A, B, and F. Okay, so even though we can't see it, there's technically another plane that goes at a diagonal through this. So essentially we've got another plane that's coming down here through that in both directions. So this plane would be A, B, F, and G. So G would be this one. Any questions on those ones? Let's see. Name all points that are not coplanar with the given point. So this time they're giving us a cube. And I'll reiterate, you do not need to copy all the shapes out when you're doing your homework problems. If you want to, you're welcome to, but if you're like, I'm good with just looking at them in the book, that's also totally fine. All right, so the letters here, N, K, L, M, and then down here is R, Q, P, and S. So we're looking for all points that are not coplanar with the given point. So they're going to give us 3, and then any point that doesn't lie in that same plane, then we're going to list those out. So basically all of them should have 4 points that are getting listed that are not coplanar with the group that we're given. So 36, N, K, and L. So the points that are coplanar with each other up here would be if we added M to this list. So then we're looking for the 4 that are not on this plane up top. So it would be P, Q, R, and S. Would be the ones that are not. $38, P, Q, and N. So which 4 points are not on that plane?
R, K, L, S.
Yep, RKLS. Okay, because M would also be on this plane with these. How about 42? PSK. Yep, Q, R, M, and L. So this is another one where they took this and essentially they drew the plane, they drew the plane down through here like this. And so that was what we had to look at as the opposite of that. All right, completing the definition, so completing the sentence. So they're going to give us a sentence. So 44 is AB, and this is a line segment, so it has a little line over top. Consists of endpoints A and B. And all the points on the line AB that lie, and then we're filling in this blank here. So basically we have a segment, right? So if we want to look at a kind of a visual here to help us, we have this line AB, and this segment is just this part right here. So if I wanted to draw the segment, this would be the segment here. Okay, so segment AB consists of endpoints A and B and all points on the line that are where? What points make up the segment? Yep, between A and B. (46) Two rays or segments are collinear if fill in the blank. So what would make them collinear if they're what?
Opposite rays.
Yes, looking for a little bit different way of saying it, but what does it mean for something to be collinear?
They're on the same line.
Yep, if they lie on the same line. Now, obviously, different ways that we can word some of these things and still have the right answer. But that's what I was specifically looking for there. Okay. 48. These ones we're going to be sketching line segments and rays. So like the one where I had you write the 3 dots on your paper. Essentially, we're going to be doing that. So this one's draw points J, K, L, and M, of which no 3 are collinear. So basically, I'm going to have them like this, so that way I don't end up with 3 on the same line anywhere. And then you can label them however. I'm just going to do this, J, K, L, and M like that. Then they say that basically we're sketching JK as a ray, KL as a segment, LM as a line, and MJ as a ray. So rays will always start at the first point and go in the direction of the arrow, and they will extend through that point. So for JK, it's going to extend through here and go that way. And if you draw your points in a different order, that's totally fine. Everybody's is going to look different. KL is a segment, so it's going to go between K and L, like that. LM is a line, so it's going to go all the way through both points with an arrow on each end. And lastly, MJ is going, starting at M and going all the way through J to make a ray. And so that's what that would look like. Like I said, if your points are in a different spot, obviously yours is going to look a little different, and that's fine. But roughly that's what it should look like. All right, 50. 2 points, X and Y are, or form a line, X, Y. Add a point W between X and Y so that WX and WY are opposite rays. So what do you think this needs to look like? Yep. So I'm going to have points X and Y that are on a line, and then I've got, well, sort of. Try again. Just make them drastically large so you can't tell. Then we've added W in here, and so then I've got one ray going this way, and then I've got my other one going this way. So those are my opposite rays. All right, open your book to page 15 because I'm not going to try to copy over this last picture for these last few questions. Or well, for most of the last few questions. So at the top of page 15, you're going to see a cube that was apparently made by some sculptor. Looks like it has a hole in the middle of it, or it kind of looks like a dice. 15.
Are we allowed to drink in this classroom? No.
Water. That's the only thing you can have in any class.
Miss Quinn,
Yes.
is it a cookie point if you wrote, like, or you wrote WX and WY, and, like, both the lines go the same way? But, like, WX, the line goes the
Well, we don't write it the other way, though.
Oh.
I'm writing it in the direction that it goes. So it W's the starting point, and then,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Well, that is a good question. All right, so 56 is, there's line AD and line AE. and we're looking at they intersect at where. So according to that picture, we've got AD kind of at the top there, and then AE is going down the side. So where do those two things intersect? What is their intersection point? A. Yep, that's their piece that they overlap. 58. Plane ABC and plane, make sure I'm reading the right problem, DCG intersect at So these are going to intersect at an actual line since they're planes. So we've got ABC is like the top there. But obviously D is included in that plane. And then we've got DCG, which is the front-facing piece of the cube. So I'm looking at the place where those two things overlap. So ABCD and then DCGH are my other ones. So it would be the line DC is where they're intersecting. So if you say DC or CD, it doesn't matter. So pretty much wherever the picture's overlapping is going to be your answer to the question for whatever it's asking. If it's asking for a plane, it's going to intersect at a line. If it's asking for, like if it's giving you two lines, it's going to intersect at a point. 60, plane EAD and plane BCD intersect at, I don't feel like writing the words again. So EAD is kind of top left and BCD is top right. So what line is the part that's touching both of those planes?
Line
AD.
Yep, line AD. All right, last couple problems here are ones that ask us to sketch the figure that is described. So 62 is two lines in a plane that don't intersect. I'm shortening it a little bit. So we've got two lines in a plane that don't intersect. What are the only type of lines that don't intersect? Parallel lines. So basically I'm going to create my plane here. Can look however you want it to look. And I'm going to draw two parallel lines within my plane. Well, I guess I shouldn't extend them out past it. Two parallel lines within that. You can draw them however you want to side, up and down. (64) Three lines that intersect in a point but do not lie on the same plane. Any idea how I might need to do that?
You could have like one outside the plane.
Yep, I could have one outside the plane. They just all can't be on the same plane. So if I were to draw a picture of my plane here, keeps making just like a box, but that's fine. All right, so then I could have one going like this way through it. I could have one going this way through it. And then I could have one that's actually going up through like the bottom where I do the little dot 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 thing and show that it's going through that way. So the green line that I drew would be going like up and down, and the other ones would be on the same plane. All right, this next one might be a little bit harder to draw. It's two planes that do not intersect. So you might have to leave a little bit up to your imagination. So basically, this would be like just as like a visual for you. The wall behind you and this wall in front of you, that would be two planes that don't intersect, right? So you can do it a couple different ways if you want. I'm going to try to do it this way and see if it will do it and not make it a thingy. Kind of worked. So those, imagine that this is like a 3D shape and that there's like, you know, space between here. It's kind of hard to see because on paper, obviously. But if you're drawing something like this, like if I were to ask you this on a quiz or a test, I would just say, I mean, like equate it to something. Be like two opposite walls. Or something like that to explain that you know. So it's like, but as long as you don't draw them touching, I'm pretty much going to assume that that's what you meant. That they're not intersecting. Questions on that? All right, problems 9, 13, 16, 17, 21, 25, 31, 35, 39, 43, 45, 47, 49, 57, 59, 61, 63, 65, and 67. I know that looks like a lot, but a lot of them you just need to write like a quick problem statement. You don't need to copy down the pictures. If you want to, you're welcome to. But you can just like read the problem out of the book, write down the little problem statement that's like 3 letters in most cases, and then write what the answer is. If you forgot to turn in your homework from last night, make sure you do that before you leave. Giving a little bit of grace right now, but pretty soon it won't be that
Friday,
anymore.
the vocab and stuff is due.
Yep.
But we have to turn it in the morning, right? Because she'll be doing it